Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Well, last week the Lord asked me, how did Adonijah die? Well, we know. We've kind of went through that, probably about a year ago. And so I went back to the passage because I wanted to, go back over the details. And he's got something for us. I think you're going to enjoy this study. So if you want to turn in your Bibles to 1 Kings chapter 2, and I'm going to start in verse 12. And Solomon sat on the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was firmly established. Now Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, and she said, "Do you come peacefully?" And he said, "Peacefully." Because if you remember, what happened in Chapter 1 was very dramatic. He tried to usurp the throne. So here we see Solomon sitting firmly on the throne of his father David. And the very next thing we see is Adonijah. He's back in the scene, and now he has a request. So verse 14, then he said, "I have something to say to you." And she said, "Speak." So he said, "You know that the kingdom was mine, and that all Israel expected me to be king. However, the kingdom has turned about and become my brother's, for it was his from the Lord. Now, I'm making one request of you. Do not refuse me." And she said, "Speak." Then he said, "Please speak to Solomon the king, for he will not refuse you, that he may give me Abishag the Shunammite as a wife." Something's fishy here. Adonijah knows that Solomon will feel obligated to give Bathsheba whatever she requests of him, because it was Bathsheba who arranged that last-minute shuffle to get Solomon crowned king on the day that Adonijah attempted to usurp David's throne. Solomon wasn't even a part of that little scuffle there. All he had to do was get on his father's donkey. It was all arranged for him, and he was crowned king on that day. I suspect it was Feast of Trumpets, because Adonijah knows that's the day that kings are crowned. So we don't know when this little conversation took place, but I think we're going to get cues that it wasn't too long afterwards. Verse 18, so Bathsheba said, "Very well, I will speak to the king for you." So Bathsheba liked his request. Apparently, she's not too fond of the lovely Shunammite. Therefore, Bathsheba comes into an adagreement with Adonijah. Adonijah. I pronounce his name differently every time I see it. I don't know why. I can't get his name figured out. Well, the Shunammite had no clue that she had just been sold out to the usurper. Had Bathsheba been jealous of Abishag that whole time that she was taking such good care of her aging husband, King David? Did Bathsheba really despise Abishag more than Adonijah, the usurper of the throne? We read that Abishag came into the household, the king's household, after the Absalom incident, and she took great care of David. But David by this time had passed away, and Abishag apparently is still living in the palace, serving in some capacity, we don't know what. So we have to ask, why didn't Solomon send Abishag back home to her family in Shunem? And then we have to ask, of all the requests Adonijah could have asked Bathsheba for, after being so greatly humbled after that coronation incident, that's his one request? That he wants David's nurse? Good-looking nurse, of course. He wanted her as his wife? What was Adonijah's angle? Was he really in love with her? What was he really after? We know he was extremely crafty and deceptive. Now, going back to this question, was he really in love with her? Is that why he wanted her to be his wife? You know, he had probably met her while he was playing both sides of the fence, politicking his campaign for when he was going to usurp the throne way back then, and also being David's son, he would have access to the king's palace and to his father, and probably going in and out while his father was aging. So he had probably met Abishag. I don't know if he had any interaction with her, but one thing appears to be for sure. Adonijah probably picked up on how Bathsheba felt about David's nurse, and that's why he went to Bathsheba. But Adonijah did not know how Solomon felt about the Shunammite. We're going to see in a moment how this is all going to play out. So Israel makes an agreement with the Antichrist. Oops, I meant to say Bathsheba made an agreement with Adonijah. Sorry, slip of the tongue there. Okay, so moving on to verse 19. So Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to him for Adonijah. And the king rose to meet her, bowed before her, and sat on his throne. Then he had a throne set for the king's mother, and she sat on his right. Okay, now, this reveals something interesting about King David. He never had a throne set up for Bathsheba during his reign. Isn't that interesting? So we see the scene. Solomon's sitting on his throne. He says, hey, somebody bring a throne for Bathsheba, my mom, to sit on, the queen mother. So there's that awkward little shuffling going on. They find a throne. I don't know. Do they keep spares in the palace? I don't know. So Bathsheba is patiently waiting for this throne to be setting up, and she's thinking, oh, this is going to be a snap. Verse 20, she sits down. And, I don't know if she formally looks at him or she leans on, the arm, but she says, verse 20, I'm making one small request of you. Now that word small in Hebrew is insignificant, unimportant. She says, do not refuse me. And the king said to her, ask my mother, for I will not refuse you. Because he does realize she played an important role in his sitting on the throne right now. And he's expecting her to request something that will be beneficial to the kingdom. So he says, sure, I'm not going to refuse you. Verse 21, so she said, let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adonijah, your brother, as a wife. Okay, now you're going to notice here, she doesn't describe him as the son of Haggith. She uses a term that is far more endearing. She says, Adonijah, your brother. Sounding kind of manipulative, isn't it? Verse 22, King Solomon answered and said to his mother, and why are you asking Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? Ask for him also the kingdom, for he is my older brother. Even for him, for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. So look at this. Solomon is equating this young virgin with the kingdom. He's making association. He's telling Bathsheba, you may as well give away the whole kingdom to Adonijah, Abiathar, and Joab. Wow. So now if you remember, Joab was the commander of David's armies, and Abiathar oversaw the priesthood. They sided with Adonijah to deceive David and the kingdom through a calculated, deceptive, and manipulative process. Isn't this interesting? Solomon equating giving away the Shunammite, this young, lovely virgin, as giving away his kingdom. You know, the word Shunammite means in Hebrew double resting place. Oh, I love that. Adonijah was going after the still available young unmarried virgin via Bathsheba. He figured that if he couldn't get the throne one way, he'll get it through another. And he figured it was through David's faithful nursemaid. Maybe she's got some secrets to the kingdom. Maybe she knows some weaknesses to the kingdom. But he failed to comprehend the depth of Solomon's affections for her. Adonijah and Bathsheba had not factored that into this situation. Look at verse 23. So King Solomon swore by the Lord, saying, may God do so to me, and more also, if Adonijah has not spoken this word against his own life. Oh, this is big, you guys. So Solomon's wisdom kicked in, and he did not give in to this subtle suggestion that he pay back a favor with a favor, even if that favor was to his own mother. Wow. Not only that, it becomes obvious to everyone in the room, you know, there's servants in the room, it becomes obvious to every person in the room right then just how much in love Solomon was with the Shunammite. Now, Abigail the Shunammite has no idea what's going on here. She does not know she's just been given up by Bathsheba, and she does not know that Solomon is interceding for her and how highly he thinks of her. Whoa, think of all the scuttlebutt that's going on at the water cooler right now with all the servants. You know, I'm sure Bathsheba was surprised to find out Solomon's affection for this young virgin. She had been blinded by her own point of view, her own jealousy. You know, it could be she was thinking the Shunammite would not be good enough for the son of David. So maybe she wanted to get Abishag out of the house, out of the palace. By this time, Bathsheba was accustomed to fancy dignitaries, you know, from being married to David. She's, you know, has kind of gotten used to that life and social norms for a king and the king's son and a new young king sitting on the throne who's single. Abishag was just a simple farm girl from a simple family. So Solomon goes on to say in verse 24, now therefore, as the Lord lives, who has established me and set me on the throne of David my father, and who has made me a house as he promised, surely Adonijah shall be put to death today. Wow, what a shocking turn of events for Bathsheba. I bet she just wanted to creep out of the room. How embarrassing. Obviously, up until then, she knew there was some puppy love going on between the Shunammite and her son. You know, moms pick up on that kind of a thing, and that would be natural. You know, Solomon and Abishag were both very young. Scholars think that Solomon took the throne somewhere between the ages of 20 and 30. You know, they don't know for sure. Interestingly, after this dramatic scene in the throne room, Bathsheba's name isn't mentioned again in the scriptures until we get to the genealogies in Matthew. So now, my friends, what does this mean for us? We are the Shunammite. We have the father-daughter relationship with our Father God Almighty, and the Son is deeply in love with us for that. You know, at this point in history, it's important to consider that not everyone who has avoided the hot sauce is the Shunammite. Some aren't even saved. There are many unsaved, organic people who go to church, read the Word, watch YouTubes with us. But there's something that makes the Shunammite different. What makes the Shunammite different is that we spend time in the Father's chamber, fellowshipping with Him through prayer and getting our own insights into the kingdom from Him, secrets that Adonijah would want. Something for us to consider. Bathsheba does not really call us her friend. She might say she does in the media. She's giving Christians lip service. She does not want us around. She does not want us in the house. She is in an agreement with Adonijah, the serpent. The serpent cannot know our heart, so he watches to see how much time we spend in the Father's chamber in order to identify her, because Adonijah had clearly identified the Shunammite. He wanted her for a wife. So, when she is identified in this age, Adonijah will work through Bathsheba using a clear, bold move to give us over to Adonijah. So, be awake and alert for this bold move to take place. It's at that time that the Son of David will make a loud proclamation and grand display to rescue us. Then, very shortly, everyone will finally come to know whom the Son has loved and the depth of His love for us. So, minister to our Father in His chamber. Spend time with Him. Read the Word. Wait for Him to ask you open-ended questions, and ask Him open-ended questions. Not yes/no questions, open-ended questions. All right, well, God bless you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.